about the ribs is since we're going to do a bilateral of the lower ribs, you want to really make sure you've got the first ribs. You don't want to clip it too closely, right? Okay, so I want to make sure that I've got light on both sides here, just like we do on the chest x-ray. So for some of you, I'm not sure, George, maybe Emmanuel, you might have to do crosswise to make sure you've got both the ribs on there. Both sides, I mean. Okay, I've done the 8-beat PA. Have them taken a deep breath and hold it in. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and do the below diaphragm. Now another thing that may come up is as you come down to do the below the diaphragm, on a few of you, perhaps you may have trouble if we're at 72 inches. See what's happening?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're any shorter than Joe Phil, you probably, so what's our options?
Step them on a step.
Yes. You can either bring the tube into 40, but the more preferred thing is just use the step stool. And you can fix that problem, okay?
Do we have step ladders in both rooms?
We do. Oh, okay. Yeah. We should. We always have. Okay, so where's my light? I'm going to go ahead and turn him in P. Huh?
Was it there?
Yeah.
Both in.
Turn around and go ahead and turn around. Okay, so my marker I'm going to put here, because probably the ribs are going to be going across here. Now we would have had these ribs already on the upper, but I just put it at the very edge of the collimation. Okay, so here's his MSP. So notice the light's at the iliac crest. Here's his xiphoid process. The top of the light's just above the xiphoid. So we're going to get 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And what's my instructions for him for breathing?
Expiration.
Right, expiration, because we want to even the density by having the diaphragm up. So this is bilateral. Okay? So what's the next position I should do?
Unilateral.
Well, I'm going to go do all the bilateral first.
Then the RPO.
Why not? So let's do the RPO. Ooh, a lot of things in here to avoid. Okay, so I'm going to turn him 45 degrees. Now, what do I need to do with the arms?
Put them
Put
both ways.
his hand back and put this hand up. You can either rest it up on his head or the IV pole. Or now, if we're doing bilateral, come towards me. You still want to make sure that you can see light on both sides of the cassette, of the image receptor here. Okay, so the CR ends up being just a little bit to the upside of the MSP. But basically, you just have to look at your patient. Now, if you're doing bilateral, you're going to put the cassette in crosswise. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay, what are we demonstrating here?
The right.
The right
Yes,
axillary, the right
axillary.
axillary ribs, and the
And our
left
left
posterior axillary ribs.
Right
axillary
axillary
and the right
posterior
posterior
articulation
articulation
on the left
on the
ribs.
ribs.
Okay? All right, so that's the below diaphragm. So my technique's going to be, I have to go, maybe I'll go make a technique chart. At least have it, because we have to have techniques for the shoulders.
True.
Yeah. So what's the difference in technique from the above the diaphragm to below the diaphragm? Go ahead and put your arm down for a minute. How much do we go up from the above?
3 to 4 times.
Yes. So if I had 10 at 70 from my above the diaphragm, I'm going to put probably 30 at 70 from my below the diaphragm. Go 3 to 4 times from your, and 30 at 70, 40 at 70 is usually an average for an abdomen. Okay, so again, I'm going to make sure he stays at 45 degrees. I want to make sure that I can see the light on both sides. So put his hand on his hip, bring this other one out. Now, move away from me a little bit. See how I can see the line here on his chest? And I've got lots of light over here. You see that?
Yes.
So obviously I'm not centered. You want to have an equal distance of light on both sides. So I'm just going to bring him towards me until I can see the light equal distance. So see how there's a little bit of light peeking over there? And there's a little bit of light peeking over here. Again, if your patient is hypersthenic or a little bit wide and you're not seeing the light on the image receptor, you might want to go ahead and do it crosswise. I've got it lengthwise because, you know, he's not a big person. Okay, the other thing is, before I put the arms up, I want to center so that I just see a little bit of light above the shoulder here, like we do on the chest x-ray. Because when you bring his arm up, go ahead and bring your arm up. See how it kind of throws you off because the arm's up in the way? So you're just looking right here. If you've got this, you've got the first rib. See my finger? Okay. Okay, the CR, just like on the below, it's just going to be about an inch or two to the MSP here. It's not halfway because we're trying to get both ribs on here. Just a little bit. So what other position do I need to do?
The LPO.
LPO.
So now we're just going to have him turn 45 degrees towards the LPO. So look at the shoulders, the hips, and the feet. You want them all in the same plane. And then go ahead and have him put his arm back. Put this arm up, and you can use an IV pole if you want. Have him rest his arm out of the way. And then again, I'm going to look at the light, make sure I've got light on both sides of my image receptor. And what's my breathing instructions?
Inspiration.
Inspiration.
And then I'm going to recenter from my below the diaphragm. And what's my breathing instruction?
Expiration.
Expiration.
So I'm keeping the same width of the light. I'm just collimating down for the below the diaphragm because I don't need to have it all up in the chest here. So this would be like 11 by 14 or 14 by 17 crosswise. On a larger patient, I'd use 14 by 17. Okay, so now he's done with his bilateral ribs. All right?
For the simulation, are you going to tell us if you want us to upper or lower?
Yes, it will say AD or BD, meaning above the diaphragm or below. It'll say upright or recumbent, meaning do you do it standing or laying on the table. You should practice both. The thing though is, if you were supposed to do, you can laugh, if you were supposed to do an LPO and you did it recumbent instead of upright, would that be a repeat? No, because the position's correct. You'd just be a goofball and lose some points because you didn't follow instructions. You know what I mean? LPO. Or it might say right ribs, posterior articulation. Then what position are you going to do?
LPO.
LPO. And I'm going to go through the unilateral right now. Okay? Now I realize, when you're at the hospital it says ribs. It doesn't give you, but you have to know, you have to understand which position is demonstrating what so that you get that whole process. Right? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do his left ribs because he was out, or no, it's Erica's turn. Huh? You're the one that's out fooling around. Bar stool.
Erica.
My son turned 23 yesterday and I didn't even see him. He's so busy going salsa dancing and...
Oh.
birthday, fine. First time I've never seen him on his birthday. I know where I stand in his book of receipts. Okay, so if I'm doing unilateral, this is the collimation for 14 by 17 here. Right side, and bring it down. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is focus on the ribs that I'm supposed to be doing. So if it's the left ribs, I'm going to move her away from me. So basically your central ray goes halfway between your MSP and your MCP. Okay, now I can collimate side to side because there's no need to have all this open collimation. What else do I need to do?
The arm.
Yeah, we don't want the arm hanging down. You don't want the soft tissue over the ribs. So notice that the MCP and the MSP, the CR is right halfway in between. See that? And the light is just going about 1 inch to 2 inches beyond the MSP. You don't need light way over here, but just enough to include where the ribs would articulate to the spine. Okay? This is left ribs, AP above the diaphragm. So I'm going to have her do what?
Take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath.
Deep breath in, inspiration, and hold it. Now, when she's in that position, I'm just going to leave her there. Bring my collimation down. Because she's small, I'm going to go 10 by 12 lengthwise. If your person's wider, you may want to go crosswise. Okay? I don't want to see you using 14 by 17 for your unilateral on the below the diaphragm. Big one for the above because we want to get all the ribs. Cone down on, we call this the cone down on the little one. On the below. So see how I see just a little bit of light here? And then again, the central ray is just beyond her MSP, so the CR is halfway between the middle and the side. Go up 3 times in your technique. Take a breath in. Blow it out. Stop. Okay? What should I do next? Position.
LPO.
No?
Is that last time?
On the deviation? Oh, you're right, okay, I was thinking it was after. Alright, so what if it was anterior pain, what position would I do? Left ribs, anterior pain.
Yeah.
Okay. See our halfway between the side, does that look right?
Uh-huh.
No arm?
Oh, left? You said? Oh,
Which side am I demonstrating right now?
he said
What
left.
side am I supposed to be demonstrating?
Left. The other
You
side.
better pay attention. Yeah, I'm tricking you on purpose. You gotta pay
Yeah.
attention to that. See how it,
Done.
when you turn the patient around, you gotta pay attention. It moves to the
Left.
other side. You're right. This group is slower to get tired. You know, the other group was bam, they were right on it. But we're seeing a difference. And the morning group comes in sleepy, so it takes like an hour to wake up. The middle group's all peppy because they've had enough sleep and they haven't been in clinical. And then you guys kind of come in all.
They had lunch.
Yeah, they had lunch. Well, you should have had lunch. You're coming here at 3 o'clock. It's 3:30. You should have had lunch. But, okay. So just pay attention to those kind of things. All right, let's go back to the. So we've done the AP. So the next one will be the LPO. Some hospitals they only do the two obliques, the AP and the PO of whatever side it hurts. But I am a true believer of doing both obliques, and every place I've worked has required us to do both. So I'm going to go ahead and turn her 45 degrees. And again, get her arm out of the way, bring the other one up. She can either bend it on her hip or bring it up to her head, but you don't want any soft tissue here. Okay, now notice, I'll make side to side just a little bit here. Again, I want her 45 degrees. And then you just see a little bit of shadow here, of the rib on the IR. So notice that the CR ends up being
In the middle.
the CR ends up looking like it's at the MSP on the unilateral. The other thing is, look at her. See how she's watching what I'm doing? Sorry. Well, that's what patients do. They want to see what you're doing. When you're poking on them, they want to see why you're poking on them. But what do you have to do? This chin is going to be in the top ribs if you don't get enough light. So don't focus on the ribs. You got to look at the whole body, okay? So chin up. Now, basically, the CR is sitting at the MSP, because what happens is, see how it's at the MS halfway here, but as we turn, see how it moves this way? So basically, it's over the MSP. It just looks different here because she's got curves. So we're not seeing a straight line. Okay? All right, so we see just a little bit of shadow of the rib here, chin up. Okay, so that's going to be our LPO. And what are we demonstrating? What ribs?
The left.
Left, absolutely.
Actually.
Left is a good start, but you got to get more detail. Yeah, right. Okay, now we're going to do the cone down for the. So basically, you just go to the top and bottom collimation. Here's your iliac crest. Here's your xiphoid process. I need to go just a little bit. Okay, so xiphoid process, iliac crest. Okay, so this would be the below the diaphragm. And then go ahead and turn towards your right. Okay, does that look right? Below the diaphragm?
Looks like it's up too high.
What ribs am I doing?
You're doing your right ribs.
I'm not doing the right ribs. I'm doing the left ribs.
I am.
I'm doing unilateral left ribs.
So we're not so. I just thought you were.
No, I'm not changing up. We're doing the left ribs. We're doing the complete series. So make sure you stay. The point is, keep your head and say, okay, left side, left side, left side. No matter what position you're in, make sure you're always, whatever your card says, left or right, that you're on that side if it's unilateral.
But on your card you say RPO?
No, I do not tell you the position. This card would say left ribs, posterior articulation. Left ribs oblique, posterior articulation.
Left ribs, oblique, posterior.
I'm not going to tell you the position. You then can write on your paper. You can read the card, and then when you're writing, say, okay, so that's going to be an RPO. You can write it on your paper. You can't write it on the card. To remind yourself that I'm going to have your paper. Right?
So this is
Can we write in our hands?
So that position is the right as the
Well, but
Left.
we're only
It's
doing
the
the left
left.
rib, see? So it's
It's the left axle.
It's the left, if we
Left
know the left axillary, if we're doing
articulation.
the right, but we're only doing, I mean, the right axillary, but we're only doing the left side, so what is it demonstrating?
Articulation.
Yeah, the posterior articulation.
Posterior, yeah.
And then I'm gonna do the other.
Okay.
See, for this one, it does look like the CR goes halfway between the MSP and the MCP. But again, I'm just looking for a little bit of light beyond the edge of the rib here. Remember, this is the one where the ribs curl over, and I'm going to show you with the skeleton when we're done here.
Left
Okay.
axillary. That's
Yeah.
left axillary.
No, well, we're doing left ribs, but what is the ribs that are being demonstrated?
Left.
Left.
posterior.
Posterior articulation.
Articulation.
This is left axillary, so axillary is down, articulation is up. Only in the AP. Are we going to do PA obliques?
No.
No!
Yeah.
This is hard enough. Really, right?
Yes.
Now, I've had people do the PA oblique when I'm testing them, and they did the correct way. Have no idea why they did it. I never showed them how. Maybe the hospitals are showing you how to do it that way. You know, if you're supposed to be doing an LPO and you do an REO, would that be a repeat?
No.
No, it's the same position. I would just say you didn't do the one that you should, you were taught, but as long as the X-ray would come out okay, that would be all right. Okay? All right, let's get the skeleton and I'll show you this again. Okay, so in the AP projection, what am I demonstrating here? Alright, so these are the posterior ribs that I'm going to see. In the PA projection, what would I see best on the film?
Anterior.
Other than that, the rest of your projection should always be in the AP, I think. Okay, so watch what happens here. If I'm doing the left ribs, center this off a little bit so we can just collimate to this side. Okay, so if I'm doing the left ribs, okay, and I oblique the patient, watch what happens to the ribs here. See how these ribs now become elongated? So we're seeing the axillary, we're seeing this portion here. See where my hand is? Now we're seeing this portion. Yeah, so this is the LPO, we see the axillary. And the RPO for the left rib, see how they're now curling on top of themselves?
Right.
So now we're seeing the posterior articulation of where the ribs connect to the spine. Okay, now you're going to become the IR again like I did in class. I'm not showing you AP oblique. I want you to see what happens here. Okay, so if we're going to do the LPO, it would be the same as doing the RAO. Okay, so see how it elongates the ribs? See how these ribs are being elongated on the left side? All right, now if we're going to do the RPO or LAO, see how you're now seeing this articulation here where the spine meets the ribs meet the spine. Okay?
So LPO, elongated, RPO, curly.
Well, for the left side, yeah.
For the left side.
Mhm, that's right. Because when there's a fracture, see where my finger is here on the shadow? When there's a fracture here and you do the LPO, see what happens? These ribs are now hidden in the spine. You can't see the shadow of my finger anymore. See it sticking out there?
Mm.
Right? So when we do this one, now you can see the shadow of my finger. So if you had a posterior rib fracture, you'd see it better on the what we call the opposite oblique.
Okay.
To the left side. Okay. I'm going to put my patient on the table and do another series. Let me move